Well, everyone, good evening and welcome into a special Friday edition of KC Sports Tonight. I am Mark Poulose, joined by Gabe Swartz here at the station. If you're watching this on Facebook, YouTube, or on our streaming, we are having a little bit of technical difficulty, so our screens don't look quite right now. I'm going to do my best to kind of toggle throughout the show between the people speaking. But tonight we have four great topics to talk about. It's kind of funny because here we are mid-July. This is kind of the doldrums of sports, but there is always something going on here in Kansas City sports news. We're going to start with the Royals. They start their second half of the season. We're going to talk about, right now the Royals are out of the playoff picture. Are they worth emotionally investing into the rest of the way? Plus, in football, the SEC dropped their preseason media poll, and the Missouri Tigers finished near the bottom. We'll tell you where they're ranked, and we'll talk about if that's justified, because I think it's pretty low and a lot lower than I would have projected. And then our last topic, the final major of the golf year is underway, the 153rd Open Championship. We're going to talk about that for a little bit, but we're going to start here. I'll put it back on the 2 box. Let's see all this. All right, here we are. It's myself and Gabe. So the Royals tonight, they start their second half of the season. The Royals right now 47-50. They're starting a 3-game set at the Miami Marlins. The Royals 4.5 games out of the final wild card spot. Gabe, 3 games here against the Marlins, then 3 games at the Cubs. How important is this 6-game stretch for the Royals to because the trade deadline's coming up on the 31st. How important are these 6 games?
Yeah, I think it's critical. I think this weekend is very, very important in terms of getting off to a good start, and that's because you know that the Marlins are a team that you can aim for getting 2 out of 3 from. You could theoretically see a world in which the Royals go out and put together a series where they beat them in all 3 games. That is plausible, and if they do so, then that turns. I think that a successful road trip is going 500, and that's the case most of the time. That was the case when they went to Seattle and Arizona, and they played 7 games and they went 4-3, and the series on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday in Chicago is going to be a pretty tall task. The Cubs they have the best run differential in baseball. They have one of the best offenses in baseball, which you would think is a tall task for the level that you're asking of your pitchers who have carried the team throughout the season. But who knows, maybe you get a couple days where the wind blows out at Wrigley and the Royals' bats can come alive or something along those lines. It'll be interesting to see. But yeah, I think that this is a huge stretch, and it not only is it a huge stretch, every single week, and we've said this for so long, but with the trade deadline coming in 2 weeks, they can't afford a 1-5, a 2-4, because if it gets to that point, then you're almost forcing the front office's hand to send someone like Seth Lugo out of town. But if you give them a reason to believe, if you have a week where not only can you help yourself, the Cubs could help you this weekend. They're playing the Red Sox. They beat the Red Sox this afternoon. Things like that can happen. There's other teams in the AL wildcard race who it's not too early, and that's where we're going to get to the point of discussing, is this team worth emotionally investing in? And Mark, my point to that would be, it's not too early to start looking at the scoreboards and rooting against other teams in the AL wildcard race, because every game matters, and every game in a time of the year where they have to decide what level of foot to press on the gas, I guess, so to speak, for the AL wildcard race, this is so critical. So I think tonight is big. I think this weekend is huge in terms of the Royals picking up where they left off with winning some games the last week prior to the All-Star break.
Yeah, I think kind of going here with the Royals, so much when we watch baseball, we're trying to figure out what are the most important games of the season, because they play 162 of them. There's so much that's going on, kind of which ones are the highest stakes. And I think there's a big argument to be made that these next 6 games are the most critical games to the entire Royals season they've played all year long. Because right now the Royals 47-50, looking up at quite a few teams ahead of them just for the final wild card, the last playoff spot here in the American League. And if the Royals, just as Gabe said, if the Royals don't kind of get to 500, I would say maybe even 1 game below by the end of this road trip, like, how can this front office not sell? Like, you're just getting to the point where you would, as Gabe said, you would force their issue. They would have to kind of, look toward the future and do what's best for the organization. So these games, so critically important. And as we've seen all year long, this Royals team has just been super streaky. They started the year 24-16 in their first 40 games. Then in their next 45, they went 15-30. I mean, that is so bad. 15-30. That's like a 50-win pace for the entire. It's just terrible. But then right after that, to start July, the Royals have won 8 of 12 to go on this month. So this team, it's peaks and valleys with these guys. And I know GM JJ Picollo has wanted to see more consistency, but it seems that the guys that they have on the team, they just aren't consistent. They aren't consistent hitters. It is what it is. We're this far into the season. So we're going to have to see what happened. But Gabe, you're kind of touching on this earlier, the reasons to believe. I know Seth Lugo starting the second half of the season, starting tonight, and then I believe it's Michael Wacha and then Chris Bubich. They've made one trade, the Royals. They brought back old friend Adam Frazier. They traded away a 27, 28-year-old minor leaguer, Cam Devaney. But why should people believe in this team, Gabe? I know that you're a little optimistic here maybe, but do you think there are reasons to really believe in this team?
I think that there's reasons to believe in every team in the AL wildcard race for in the context of becoming the third wildcard team or even becoming the second wildcard team, because I would say that right now the team that's in second place, which is the Boston Red Sox, we've seen what the series the Royals played against the Red Sox looked like. We've seen what the Red Sox have looked like throughout the season. You wouldn't necessarily say that you thought that, they're in the driver's seat to make an AL playoff spot, and then they went and they won 7 straight. I think it was 8 or 9 straight before the All-Star break, prior to losing to the Cubs this afternoon and kind of breaking that. And I think you could argue the All-Star break couldn't have come at a worse time for them. We've seen the Rays have streaks, as you mentioned. The Royals have been so up and down, but yeah, the ups. They at one point won 16 of 18, so we've seen them go on runs. And I think that's where it just becomes a matter of who I think buys and sells at the trade deadline is probably going to have a lot to do with which front offices believe, we have the resources to afford giving away a couple prospects to go improve something. We have a lot of guys on expiring contracts. Maybe we should move off of them and try to build up at another time. That's a team like the Angels who I could look at as like, okay, they've got some guys who it's probably not worth pushing your chips all in for this season. And the Royals are kind of in that middle ground where, they have a couple guys who you could argue you might as well get something while you can. But at the same time, the core of the team, whether it's Bobby, Vinny, Michael, there's a lot of young guys who figure to be here next year, the year beyond that, and that you want to build a culture of winning for. And you thought that you started that last season when you made the playoffs. You beat the Orioles in a series. You competed against the Yankees in the playoffs. And believing in that group and showing them that you believe in them is important, I think, and it's important in a small market. And to the grand argument of is it worth believing in, I'd just be like, well, if you look at the franchise history of the Royals, it's so rare that they're actually even in this position, which is being in the conversation in mid to late July. And there's been seasons where even in 2014, that team was 47-50 through 97 games. And I'm not saying that the Royals are going to be the 2014 Royals and roll off a magical stretch of baseball, but it just goes to show that it's rare for the Royals to compete like this. And so taking advantage of, or at least attempting to take advantage of, the seasons where they're competitive are important, because I don't think that you can take it for. It's just not something that happens all the time with this franchise, whether you like it or not. That's just the reality of the situation. So they almost have to cherish the years in which they're in the conversation. And you can argue, yes, I think things are going in a better direction. I think Bobby Witt Jr. alters the direction of the franchise, raises the floor of the franchise. But it's not like there's a long track record of success for this organization. So when they're in the conversation, I think that going for it is important. I think that fan support is important. And I totally understand the counterpoint or the arguments that the fans have given of, it seems like every time that they pack the K this year, it's been a loss, which is odd, unfortunate, and a little different. But we will see. I think that they've got as good of a chance as anybody. They've got, in my opinion, I think that they're the second best team in the AL Central. I know that the Tigers are setting a pretty high bar, but I think this Royals team is better than the Twins and Guardians, and we've seen that over the course of the year.
Yeah, the Twins, I think, just a half game better than the Royals, and the Cleveland Guardians have a pitcher who I believe today had his leave extended because Major League Baseball is investigating some suspicious gambling things around there. And those are the kind of things that can really drag down a team and a franchise. So the Guardians, like, kind of with that cloud hanging over them, I don't think they're in the race anymore. So for at least for me, I think the Royals really need to make sure that they can get past the Twins. But as far as for reasons to believe, like, so much of baseball, because there's 162 games. The games are all about 3 hours. Like, it does take a lot of time and a lot of emotional investment from the fans. And Kansas City Royals fans, like, this is something that we have known basically for our entire lives. There are so few seasons where they do compete that we're kind of almost like, like scarred to the fact that the Royals have been like a bad team for almost our entire lives. The thing that this stretch here, if the Royals don't go on a run, I just don't know how the fans are going to buy in, because training camp's going to start on Tuesday. Yeah. We're going to flip the page. That's another reason why these stretch of games are so critical for this team. If they want people to still go to Kauffman Stadium, if they want people to still be invested in this season, they need to win the 3 games. Or they have to have a winning road trip here. 3 games at the Marlins, 3 games at the Cubs. Is it going to be easy? No. Do they want to keep the fans interested? Yes. They're going to have to go out and get a win. Now, there are a couple more reasons here to be optimistic. Now, in the 3 seasons since the major leagues have added the 3rd wild card, 2 teams have been under 500 at the break and made the playoffs. Both came from the American League Central. The 2023 Twins, the 2024 Tigers. Hey, could be the 2025 Kansas City Royals. Also, another nugget. Shout out to the Royals communication staff for digging this one up. But the Royals have been below 500 2 times in franchise history at the break and gone on to make the playoffs. One was in 1981 and one was in 1984. So obviously quite a long time ago, but the Royals do have a little bit of precedent to lose, and that shows you Royals fans have long been a little beleaguered by this team and kind of seeing what's going on. So reasons to believe, Gabe, for me, I really want to see how they do in this stretch coming up, these 6 games. Anything else we want to say on this point?
I would just say that the play of Bobby in July has been important. He was good on Tuesday night in the All-Star game as well, and that I think that goes to show how locked in he's been. And when he's hitting the way that he has in July, it elevates the play of everyone else, it seems, because it only takes a couple guys getting on, and we've said all year long, yes, in comparison to his lofty standards of the incredible 2024 season, in which I think you could argue he had one of the 2 or 3 best seasons in Royals franchise history. Yeah, he wasn't playing at that level. He's still 12th in batting average. He's one of the top 5 guys in wins above replacement this season. He's 14 home runs and a ton of stolen bases. I think 26 or 27. He's gonna the power is going to have to uptick a little bit in terms of pace of home runs, but it has, and I think he could flirt with 30-30 again this year, and 3 in a row would be an insane season. But since May, as we've pointed out several times, Vinny has gotten a lot better. Michael Garcia, all-star. Salvi's starting to heat up as well. I think it's important, and yeah, we hear about it every night, it seems like, on the broadcast, and they were pointing it out during the Mets series last weekend, just how drastic the gap is between the results and the expected results based on how hard Kaggs is hitting the ball and how it seems like he hits it at people all the time. So I think that if the Royals are going to, or if the front office is going to buy in on this team, it would probably be because they believe that the first half of the season falls into the bottom 50 percentile of potential outcomes. Like if you play things over a bunch of times, that this team has underperformed versus expectations, even versus reality. And even if it's marginally, I do think that the Adam Frazier move helps them. He would be one of the better on-base percentage guys for this year's team. So we will see. But again, we say all this, you and I say all this, and tonight I think is they have to start on a good track, and they're set up well to do that because Seth Lugo is pitching, and he's pitched so well recently.
Yeah, Seth Lugo, one of the best pitchers in the American League last year. Recently, since he came back from a little inflammation in his, I believe, his throwing hand on one of his right fingers, he's turned it on. Seth Lugo is back to being Seth Lugo, and it's good to see him use. I think it's like 12 or 13 pitches that he has get those going. So certainly reasons to be optimistic about the Royals. We're going to see how they do. 3-game set beginning tonight at the Miami Marlins. We'll see how they do there. It looks like the power might have flashed here at the station, but we're still up and running. That's how you know we're dedicated to our craft. Real, true professionals, myself and Gabe. All right, third topic today. The SEC football preseason poll came out today, and the Missouri Tigers, they were not in the top 3. They were not in the top 6. They were not in the top 9. They were not in the top 10. They were not in the top 11. The Missouri Tigers were picked to finish 12th out of 16 teams in the SEC. Obviously, there's quite a bit of roster turnover for Missouri, especially at some of the game's most important positions. But Gabe, still 12th out of 16 teams, especially I think their schedule this year, they don't play Texas, they don't play Georgia, they don't play LSU, but still the media not really thinking that the Tigers are going to be doing making a lot of noise this year. Now I know Mizzou has a quarterback battle going on right now. Transfer Bo Pribula came in from Penn State, 6'2", 215. He's a former 4-star recruit, ranked as the 8th best dual threat quarterback in the class of 2022. He is in a quarterback competition against the incumbent backup Sam Horn, who's 6'4", 222. He is also in the class of 2022. He was a 6th-ranked pocket passer. So they have 2 of the best quarterbacks in the class of 2022. A little bit different. Pribula looks like a little bit more of a dual threat. Sam Horn actually plays for the Tigers baseball team. He was drafted in the 17th round. So we know he can throw the football. But Eli Drinkwitz has not determined who's going to be the starting quarterback. We're going to have to wait and see. Usually these things kind of play out. But still, 12th out of 16, Gabe. What's your initial reaction to that?
I would say my initial reaction to that is that in a world of 16-team conferences, what we're going to end up with is more of a jumble between the middle of the league, which I think you could say 5th through 12th, toss it up, and it could be anybody. And that's to say, even those teams in that area it wouldn't surprise me if somebody jumps up and is the 3rd or 4th best team in the conference. Now, I would agree with the media poll voters that Texas and Alabama, LSU, and Georgia are the 4 best teams this season, and that's quarterback play, roster, all of those types of things. But Mizzou, even though they're 12th, it sounds crazy. But the difference between Mizzou and a team like Texas A&M, Ole Miss, those teams that are in the middle of the league, I don't think that that's crazy. I think it's nuts that they're below a team like Oklahoma. That might be something that upsets our friend Neil Jones, given his allegiance.
His allegiances to Oklahoma.
Yeah, and given that Mizzou's schedule, as you mentioned, it's just the reverse of what they played last year. And I think you could argue that the 3 toughest games that they played last season were at Alabama, at Texas A&M, and at South Carolina. And all of those games they play at home this season, not to mention the non-conference schedule is favorable in the sense that they're at home a lot of it. The big game of their non-conference schedule is Kansas, and that's in Columbia. So I think that it's a favorable schedule. And
I think it's their first 6 games and a bye week. So their first 7 weeks of the season, they do not leave Columbia.
So they're set up in a good spot. I think that they will be better than the 12th best team in the SEC. But as you mentioned, the quarterback battle, and Marlia hit on this yesterday in the SEC Media Day craze that we streamed here on KCTV5 Plus, that the conversation between Pribula and Sam Horn, it's just a question mark that people don't necessarily know. And I think that that's what media voters are voting against, is there's more that Oklahoma has John Mateer, who was really good at
number
Washington State.
Number 1 prospect in the portal.
There's just other things that have brought bigger headlines to other schools, so people are betting on that. I think Mizzou will outperform where they were at in the media poll. That's my grand belief about this Mizzou team.
Well, let's walk you through the Big 12. Excuse me, the Big 12. The SEC. The Big 12 doesn't have a media poll, so we couldn't do that one. But the SEC preseason football media poll: number 1, Texas; number 2, Georgia; 3, Alabama; 4, LSU; 5, South Carolina; 6, Florida, the Florida Gators; 7, Ole Miss; 8, Texas A&M; 9, Tennessee; 10, Neil Jones, the Fighting Oklahoma Sooners; 11, Auburn; 12, Missouri; 13, Vanderbilt; 14, Arkansas; 15, Kentucky, and 16, Mississippi State. Just as we walk through that list, I feel like a lot of this just has to do with street cred. Like if you look at these brands ahead of Missouri in the rankings. I mean, you're trying to get SEC media voters to vote for Missouri over Texas, Georgia, Alabama, LSU. It just isn't going to happen. Missouri's going to have to earn that respect in the SEC, where, as they love to say, it just means more. Missouri's going to have to make some noise there in that conference. Now, for me, a lot of this is going to have to come down to the quarterback battle between Horn and how do you say his last name? The Penn State transfer. To me, I don't think Missouri would have been in the market for a transfer if they believed that Sam Horn was the guy. Now, Sam Horn, we know he's one of the best recruits. We know, according to MLB.com, I was doing some research on this guy. Sam Horn turned down 7 figures out of high school to pursue playing baseball and football at the University of Missouri. So clearly, this is a guy that MLB talent evaluators, I mean, if 7 figures is $1 million, like they're going to be like, that's a huge investment into a high school player, and he turned that down to go to Missouri. Now, what's interesting to me is that seems like that'd be a heck of an athlete, and this is a guy that, last offseason, Missouri was in the market for a quarterback because they know what they have in-house. This is a guy they see at practice every single day. This is a guy that is on campus, and they were like, we need to go get a quarterback. I think that's a tremendous clue as to who maybe will be ahead in this competition, but Coach Drink, I don't think he's going to tip his hand. It doesn't pay him any favors to tip his hand right now, and it could create some animosity in the locker room before even camp begins. If you're asking me, gun to my head, who starts week 1 for the Tigers, I would have to say the transfer from Penn State. Gabe, what's your analysis on this?
I completely agree. I think that Poulose was really good when he played at Penn State, and he was just held back by the fact that ahead of him is Drew Aller, who came back to Penn State, so he knew that he probably wasn't going to be able to beat him out. And Aller is a guy who is in the conversation for a first-round pick, and several other SEC quarterbacks are in that conversation, whether it's Garrett Nussmeier at LSU, whether it's Lenoris Sellers at South Carolina, whether it's Arch Manning. I don't know if he'll be draft eligible.
But
I don't know if he will.
If Arch Manning is not a first-round pick, like, we don't know.
Well, I just don't know if he'll leave
will
this
be,
year. So there's those conversations. But, yeah, I agree. I think that there's a little bit of uncertainty about what they have, and it's good for them to have 2 options because, yes, we saw how big the drop-off was when Brady Cook got hurt last year, and that completely neutralized their offense in that game at Alabama and caused issues for them in the game against Oklahoma that they ultimately were able to pull out. But I'm intrigued to see how things go for them. I think that the defense has a chance to be really good again this season. And, yes, Sam Horn passed up some MLB offers, but let's not act like Mizzou is not well compensating their players through NIL, and based on the reports that we've seen about the budget that the University of Missouri has gone to, and just that we know that all of these SEC schools have gone to because of their media rights deals exploding and all of these things with the House settlement and things going into play. So Poulose got some good money to come to Mizzou from Penn State. Sam Horn is being well compensated, but that's kind of just the way that things have to go at this point. And we will see how it goes. But yes, their schedule is well suited for them to have some success this season. It's just a matter of them clicking, and how long does it take to click with a new quarterback this year? That'll be intriguing to follow.
Certainly all intriguing storylines to follow. That's why we love college football. There is always something going on, especially with a local tie to the SEC. It just makes it so much fun to cover KU, K-State, and the Missouri Tigers because there's just college football is such a good sport, and to see those traditions, it's awesome. All right, last topic. We got a couple of minutes here before we get out of here. It's the 153rd Open Championship. This going on right now is being played at Royal Portrush in Northern Ireland. Now, the reason that I bring this up is because world number 1, Scottie Scheffler, we are watching one of the greatest golfers to ever play golf in real time right now. He started the day. Gabe, you might know a little bit more about how many shots back did he start and where, and now he's in the lead.
So at the end of round 1, he was 1 back. When he teed off this afternoon, which was 9:10 a.m. Central Time, but 3:10 over in Northern Ireland, he was 5 shots back. Now he's up by 1 at the end of the day, and he will be teeing off from the last group tomorrow. Just an incredible day, and you and I have talked about this off air plenty about the human nature of Scotty and kind of what he is when he's vulnerable, and how he's not always the greatest putter, and how he's an incredible ball striker, which keeps him in pretty much any tournament. It raises his floor higher than any golfer on the planet. And to delve into the statistics of golf and the advanced analytics, like strokes gained is one of those big things. He is, to put it simply, the best player in terms of hitting approaches to the green this week, and he is second in putting. And anytime that he does that, a lot of other people are not going to have much of a chance, which brings us to you bringing up the odds at the current standpoint through the 36 holes with 36 to go, and him being an overwhelming favorite, which feels correct even though he's only up 1.
Yeah, so those odds Gabe's talking about right now, I know a lot of you guys live in Kansas. A lot of you guys can bet on sports. Scotty Scheffler is minus 190 to win the Open Championship with half of the tournament left to play. So I looked up the implied odds. He has a 1-shot lead with 36 holes left. Anyone that's played golf, one stroke can happen anywhere at any time. It's so easy to lose that. Implied odds, he has a 65.5% chance to win. That is how confident odds makers are that Scotty is going to get the job done. I mean, that is, I cannot remember the last athlete in golf that had this type of odds against the best players in the world at the oldest major championship in the world, be able to, it's like Tiger Woods. He literally is the best ball striker that we have seen since Tiger Woods, and it's happening right now in real time, right before our eyes. All right, some notable names here. Matty Fitzpatrick, 2022 U.S. Open champion, I believe, or 23, somewhere in there. Brookline at the Country Club. Yep. He is -9. T3 is Brian Harmon, an American who won the Open Championship a few years ago. He's -8. He's tied with Haotong Li of China. And then also Chris Gotterup, a grad student who graduated, got a master's, I believe, at the University of Oklahoma. Yep. Won last week at the Scottish Open. He is in 7th. Rory McIlroy, T12 at 3 under. Xander Schauffele, defending champion, at 2 under. John Rahm is at T34, I believe, at even par. But some big names to miss the cut: Brooks Koepka, Patrick Cantlay, Colin Morikawa, a former Open champion, as well as Cam Smith. Gabe, got about 90 seconds left. What are your kind of thoughts on some of these names here to miss the cut?
Yeah, it just feels like Brooks Koepka hasn't been the same guy for a long time.
Well, Morikawa and Cam Smith, I am surprised.
Yeah, Morikawa is really disappointing because he is a guy who's won this tournament in 2021. Cam Smith has completely disappeared off the face of the earth since he joined Live Golf, so that doesn't necessarily surprise me. I think that the biggest thing is to harp on the Live Golf stuff, which Neil loves to do as well, and I'm with him on that. Joaquin Niemann just crushes people on Live Golf all the time. Yeah, he missed a cut again at the major.
That's a good one.
And so I'm just sick of. Please bring the tours back together. Make all the guys play on the same level again, and this is why that's why this is one of the best weeks of golf. Very excited to see how it finishes out this weekend, and definitely rooting for Scotty.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting to see how this all plays out. That 54-hole shotgun, I don't really know if that's the best way to determine golf. I think, the course designers designed the holes to be played 1 through 18 for a reason, and that's kind of how major championships have been judged forever. So I think we're kind of seeing the cream rise to the top here. But that's a look here at KC Sports Tonight on this Friday. We're going to have 2 great shows coming up on Saturday and Sunday. Those are at 10:30 p.m. Myself, Neil, Marlia, and our new team member, Katie Marr, are going to have you covered there. So thanks and take care. Have a good weekend, everybody.